first, let me find out. My team ballin', you look like you need a timeout.
Certainly is a star. The U.S. Open continues tonight on ESPN with the women's semifinals at 7 Eastern, highlighted by eighth-seeded Serena Williams on a quest for her 24th slam, taking on the 5th-seed Alina Svitolina at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Well, well, well. It has been an eventful offseason for Antonio Brown, from his trade to Oakland to issues with his feet, his helmet. Well, AB back in the news for Off the Field Matters. Brown loves to give the fans a little play-by-play of his life, putting a letter from his GM on Front Street. Reacting on IG to his $54,000 in fines from his new team for missing time during training camp. Brown's response in part, when your own team want to hate, everybody's got to pay this year. Damien Woody still here with us. You want to start on this, Max? Because you look upset.
I just don't know. Like, there's something wrong with AB. Like, he's one of the best who ever did it. And I'm the type of person like, well, what about the personality in the locker room? That counts for a lot in football. I wouldn't pretend to know even, right? I never had the shoulder pads on, but that's all I ever hear. I understand. And what I've witnessed. But at a certain level, you're so talented, that outweighs things. But AB is the first player I've ever seen on that level. Not just he potentially may do something, but he does that thing maybe as well as anyone who's ever done it every single year, no matter what. And I'm still sitting here at this point saying, is it worth it? Like, I'm not that type of person to be like, I'm like, yeah, you know what, everyone shut up. Of course it's worth it. I don't know what's going on. And when you look at each individual offense, in terms of like the stuff he tweets and all that stuff, no one of them is like, oh my God, that's egregious. But it's one thing after another after another. When he got to Oakland, I was like, oh, he's crazy like a fox. He started all that trouble. Everyone thought, because he wanted a new deal, and he got it. Good for him. He hasn't shut up since then. And now it's kind of taking shots at your own locker room publicly because you got fined because you weren't where you were supposed to be. Of course he's supposed to get fined. I don't know what's going on with AB, but I think he needs help at this point.
Stephen A?
I'm not going to go as far as to say that he needs help. What I will say to you is that it's hard to disagree with anything that Max just said. It's incredibly distressing to watch Antonio Brown, as far as I'm concerned, deteriorate as a person before our very eyes. Now, maybe he was always this way and the Pittsburgh Steelers saw it, but we didn't. But when I see how his reaction was to the Oakland Raiders, let me first say this. As critical as I was of Mike Mayock getting the job, it was not about him. It was about the fact that, there's a whole bunch of people working in the NFL and, you're a member of the media and now you're the general manager, for crying out loud. Where the hell is my president of basketball operations title as far as I'm concerned? If that's how you want to roll, that's all I joked about in regards to that nepotism that really, really never happens for black people. But I will tell you this. Mike Mayock, I don't believe, is doing a bad job at all. As a matter of fact, I think he's doing a damn good job thus far. And I think him and John Gruden have gotten the Raiders pointed in the right direction. And I completely 1,000% agree with Mike Mayock and the Oakland Raiders fining Antonio Brown. It was justified. There was no excuse for him to miss any team activities whatsoever, mandatory or otherwise. It wasn't like they were mandating that he practice due to the bad feet or due to the controversy and the friction over the helmet. But his willingness to just not show up or to just leave, figuratively speaking, taking his ball and running home, is utterly ridiculous. It's childish, and it has no place in professional football. And the fact of the matter is, Antonio Brown has been an absolute embarrassment in terms of how he has conducted himself. I'm a fan of this guy as a player. I think he's all world, one of the greatest that we've seen in the modern era, arguably one of the greatest of all time. Maybe that's not even arguable. But the manner in which he has conducted himself has made it embarrassing to me for all the times myself and others have come to his defense. Because with each passing day, he shows his petulance, he shows his immaturity, and he shows his selfishness. And it's inexcusable. There is no excuse for that. And for the Oakland Raiders to find you and for you to know what you did and how it had nothing to do with the Raiders. His feet didn't have anything to do with the Raiders. His helmet issue didn't have anything to do with the Oakland Raiders. But you are going to go on Instagram and accuse them of hating on you before you've played the damn game for them. After they guaranteed you $30 million, it's the epitome of selfishness. I'm embarrassed for him, and he should be embarrassed for himself. He should be embarrassed for even a Drew Rosenhaus, who's represented the most eccentric dudes in the NFL. He should be embarrassed for the Raiders. He should be embarrassed for people in Pittsburgh who spent months supporting him, even when he was acting petulant there. It's disgraceful how he has conducted himself. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not even adult-like. There is no excuse for it, and I'm not about to make it.
You know, Stephen A., you said all of that, and guess what? The Raiders saw all of this before they even made the move to trade for Antonio Brown. See, what happens a lot of times in professional sports is teams think with mercurial players who have immense talent is, you know what? When I bring this player into my program, I can change him. Don't think that John Gruden and Mike Mayock didn't have that same thought. Oh, he just wore out his welcome with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's get him into our program, and we'll have Antonio Brown straight. That's who this guy is. He's always been this way. And the fact that you not only did you trade for him, but then you gave him $30 million. Max, you talked about it. What Stephen A., you had said it before. When you give somebody that type of money, it just reveals more of who they are as a person. So, yeah, you could go ahead and find them, but that's just who Antonio Brown is. Now, I will tell you this, though. In that letter, there was one particular thing in that letter, and it talked about conduct detrimental. And for anyone that played professional sports, particularly in the National Football League, that is important. Why? Because that was literally a threat that if you mess up again, we're coming after your signing bonus. We're coming after your money. Now, see, that's when things can get nuclear as far as the Oakland Raiders and Antonio Brown is concerned.
Well, let me say this where I disagree with you. You say they saw this coming. I beg to differ. Yes, it's not good that he was on Facebook or whatever he was on when Mike Tomlin was giving his speech about staying off of social media a couple of years ago. That wasn't good. Outside of that, the only thing that we had seen was how he went AWOL the last regular season of the game. The last regular season of the last game of the last regular season.
Isn't that big? Isn't that big?
No,
you're fighting for the playoffs.
Hold on. I agree with that. But what I'm saying is there wasn't that track record. What we're seeing, and you think about what we're seeing now, he's taking his proverbial ball, a helmet or whatever, and running home. The one thing that was never questioned about Antonio Brown was his willingness to show up and work. This is new. He didn't do that before.
Yeah,
the only time was the last game of the regular season. That was it.
Part of the reason the Raiders bit was the asking price got so low that even if you know this might be a problem, at a third and a fifth, how can you pass up a guy putting up Jerry Rice practically numbers, consistently on a year in and year out basis? Guys, you know who looks really good at this moment before they've played a snap? No, you know who looks really good? Le'Veon Bell. Think about just based on what they're saying. Antonio Brown looks a mess. Roethlisberger doing his typical passive-aggressive stuff. Granting national interviews. Oh, I'm sorry for whatever I did with Antonio Brown, but look at Antonio Brown. The only one who really looks good right now is Le'Veon Bell, who put his money where his mouth was, right? Sat out the whole year on principle, apparently, got his new deal. And what has he said? He has said, I am ready to take that ball 50 times if they need me. He got his money. He got what he wanted. He's ready to go to work. Roethlisberger doesn't look great right now. Antonio Brown looks the worst out of all of them. But of those triplets, Le'Veon Bell looks the best right now.
Well, the one thing I will say about Antonio Brown, Damian, I want to go to you on this. Yeah. Give him props for not discriminating. I mean, at one point in time, from throwing Mike Tomlin under the bus to Juju Smith-Schuster and violating their private communications. You can look at some of the decisions that he made, and then, damn, you can't help the brothers out. Then Le'Veon Bell speaks out for you, and you act in this way. But now it's about the Raiders and Gruden and Mayock. So, I'll give him credit. He clearly isn't discriminating against
equal opportunity.
This is what I find so confusing. I thought he wanted to go to the Raiders. He gets a fresh start, right? You get $50 million, $30 guaranteed. This is just his most recent 3-year contract, and you're crying about $54K. That's petty cash. And to come out and say, when even your team hates on you, it's like, why are you making an enemy out of your team right before your season's kicking off your new team?
Well, Well, we all agree with that last point, but I don't think it's about the $54K. I think it's about the principle of their willingness to fine him. So, in other words, he's not willing to accept any culpability or any responsibility for his own actions. It's not about the $54K, Molly. It's about the fact that he believes he should be bulletproof and he should be subjected to a
but
fine.
it's a rule. It's not even personal.
But this is what I think he misinterprets. He acts like he wants to be a franchise quarterback, right? So I would say, as it relates to your point, Molly, Antonio Brown wants to be treated that way, but doesn't fully understand the responsibility that goes along with that. If you think you're special, you're different, you're really the number one guy on the team, then you also have to lead by example. You can't not be where you're supposed to be and then not even really publicly accept your fine. Yeah. He has that twisted.
I'm at a loss, unless he's just trying to get himself fired up for the season. Damian's sticking around with us. The Packers and Bears open tonight's 100th. It's the 100th NFL season. Unreal. Find out which team will not make the playoffs this year. Plus, Zeke got paid, but was his record-setting deal good or bad for his quarterback? We'll debate that. Stick around.